If it's a turkey, he will actually rear up like a snake and come after you. Like, they're
Now,
vicious.
look, I'm gonna tell you, that is hilarious when they do that.
Now, they
I
do
had that
really
happen to me,
hurt.
and, I started moving because I know it was gonna hurt, but I was also like, This is really happening."
Who's got chickens? Who's got quail? Who's got hatch rates off the scale? From brooders, coops, and mystery birds. You're listening to Poultry Nerds, talking eggs and talking birds. Science stories, tips you've heard. Welcome to the Poultry Nerds.
And we are back for another exciting episode of the Poultry Nerds Podcast.
One of these days, we're gonna run out of things to talk about.
I mean, this is midway year number 2. We got a lot to talk about. And as we've got a couple of really good sources that we use for topics.
Mhm.
So those are always handy. And, like last week's episode when we answered listener questions, we keep getting a lot of those. So I figured that's good for an episode every now and then, because if somebody emails us a question, there's at least 100 other people that have it.
True. So I was trying to think of something to talk about this week, and I was like, surely we've talked about broody hens before. So I went and searched our library, and I couldn't find anything. So if we did, we either called it something else, or it was just like a segment of a
I
larger
was gonna say,
idea.
I don't think we've done a whole episode about broody hens. We have talked about them on a couple of different occasions, and that's like one of the best incubators you can get.
It is. So if we are all about incubating, we have to talk about the broody hen. That's what so I deemed it nature's incubator. And I just want to side note that all but one of the pictures in this slideshow are current from my farm as of today. It's a complete broody fest here.
Oh Lord! And see, like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Why?
Well, when I'm hot, the last thing I want to do is sit and snuggle up in one spot and be hotter. And it's always somewhere that's out of the wind and out of the way. Like, if I was an animal, I would want to be in the shade where the wind's blowing. Or, if I was this duck, I'd want to be in the water where it's not as hot as it is sitting there in a stagnant air place with no air movement.
She was actually under a tree. This is not from today because I have another picture of some broody ducks, and I did not think that was front page worthy picture, but I did include it just because it is freaking hysterical. And now there are 2 there as of a couple days ago. So I have added them just for the ridiculousness of broodiness. But while I was doing just a little bit of research, I did not realize that Orpingtons were considered as broody as silkies. I don't know why it never occurred to me, probably because I've never had a silky, but it is in the top. Orpingtons and Cochins, which I had Cochins for a long time, and silkies are the top 3 broody breeds.
Well, I mean, they are big fluff balls and they don't move really fast.
No.
I could see that. It makes sense.
So David had to mow the backfield because, I complained it wasn't raining here. And so it's been raining for 12 days now. And the doghouse in the back. Well, when I say doghouse, don't imagine like a little igloo. It's, I think, a 10 or something.
I was gonna say, your doghouse is I don't know what's more ridiculous, how huge it is, the fact that it has a front porch, or the fact that I have literally seen pictures of them laying on the front porch while it was snowing.
Mabel can put her whole front half of her body in it.
So imagine if you were one of the dogs and you were inside asleep and you opened your eyes to Mabel, which is a cow for those that don't know, half the body inside of your house looking at you like,
She's not just any cow. She's a giant Holstein.
Yeah.
But anyway, so David was back there mowing, and when he came in, he said, you're going to need to go out to the doghouse because it looks like blonde carpet out there. I still haven't been out there because I'm kind of scared, but he said I need to take a shovel and the wheelbarrow with me. I'm sure there's probably some dead birds in there. I need to go assess that situation when it's not 100% humidity outside. So that is one thing that we're going to talk about today is these super broody breeds. They can literally set themselves to death. And so we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But This picture on the front cover, that's one of my Welsh Harlequin hens, and she was the first one this year to go broody. And she started out under the tree, and every day she moved her nest a little bit more until she was out in the middle of the field, probably a good 30 feet from the tree by the end. And but that was fine. It wasn't raining when she did that. But then it started raining, and then she got bored, and one thing led to another, and so we still don't have any baby ducks, but that's part of it. That's what you get, right? So, what is a broody? Sometimes when we're talking about some of these topics, I forget that not everybody has had, the experiences, or that's just a problem that I have. I just assume people have the same amount of knowledge that I do, and so I struggle with that. But a broody hen, and we call them hard broodies, and they set. And when we mean set, that means they're not moving. Like, David put his hand in there with these 2 girls right here. Actually, it kind of makes me looks like there's 3 girls in there. And they bit him. So a hard broody chicken is super defensive. And when they bite, it doesn't take your arm off or anything, but it will leave a blood blister. They get you good.
Oh, they'll pinch the crap out of you with their
Yeah,
teeth.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's enough to turn around and backhand them, But
Mhm.
just side note here, the one on the right, people who come here are always amazed by her. She is 13 years old, and she still lays, and she still goes broody, and she still travels the entire farm when she's not broody.
And she still has no clue what it's like on a hot summer day,
Uh-uh.
apparently, because that is one of those nice little big Rubbermaid trash cans. And I don't know, is there a third one in there, or is it just those 2?
Well, I didn't notice it before, but there does appear to be a third one underneath of them. You can kind of look under that top one's head.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to look in there. I pulled them out the other day, and there was just 2 in there, but that doesn't mean there's not more in there. I had put shavings in this just to go and rebed the nest boxes in the main coop and set it down and walked away, for like a month, because that's what you do when you have chickens. And they started laying their eggs in there. And next thing I know, they're broody in there.
Well, yeah, at least they found a nice, clean place to do it.
Well, if you notice the shadow in the afternoon sun, they are in the shade, but the sun is hitting that broadside. So I am sure it's really hot in.
It's got to be toasty.
I am going to pull them out because there's no way those eggs are fertilized. There's a mild chance, but I'm pretty
They've
sure.
got to get out of there enough to be fertilized.
Okay.
Jeez.
So a hard broody hen, and that's what I'm going to refer to them as for this podcast, is hard broody, is they'll growl, they'll puff up, they'll snap at you. If it's a turkey, he will actually rear up like a snake and come after you. Like, they're
Now,
vicious.
look, I'm going to tell you, that is hilarious when they do that.
They do
I had that
really
happen to me,
hurt.
and, I started moving because I know it was going to hurt, but I was also like, this is really happening. Grab this thing, do it.
They will hurt you. A turkey will.
Yeah, they're serious about it.
So if just another rabbit hole, we're still stuck on slide 2 here, but just another rabbit hole. If you do have to reach under a broody turkey hen, if you can take like a pitcher or a feed scoop or a small bucket and kind of put down over their head, and then you can reach underneath of them, because it won't move their body. They move their head, and they can chase you like a cobra.
Their head's like a foot long.
Yeah. And
So
my
you
little
can-
wonton scooper thing from Dollar Tree that I used to pick up the eggs
Mhm.
is shorter than their reach. She can get my fingers.
So you should use one of those grabbers like I use with the suction cups on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't tell you how many times I just stuck that thing out, wrapped it around their neck, and held them away so I could get up underneath them. Because
Yep.
I've got a blue hen that is broody, and she has, I swear, I think she sharpened her beak before she got on the nest. And it hurt. I've had her draw blood pecking on my hand before.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, not anymore. I'm going to do this.
I think all the scars on my hands and my wrists and my lower arms are all turkey scars. I don't know that any of them are chicken scars. I've got some doozies.
I don't have but just like 2 or 3 from chickens. They're mostly on my forearms. They're not on my hands.
Yeah.
But turkeys.
They'll get you.
Mhm.
Okay. So anyway, hard broodies, they actually have some hormonal changes, and I did a little research to fully understand how that works. So the hormone is prolactin, and it's formed in the pituitary gland, and it's kind of dormant. until they see eggs in the nest. And then they want to sit on them, which generates more prolactin, which creates more desire to sit, which creates more prolactin, which makes them growl, which makes more prolactin. Do you see the vicious tornado circle there that's going on?
So your chickens are hormonal.
Yes, very. So their estrogen drops, all their other stuff drops. They stop laying eggs and they pull a brood patch. And that's where they pull the feathers out of their breast area and like their underside where the eggs are going to touch their skin.
Mhm.
And their skin will actually thicken. And then they have blood vessels down there that will actually enlarge. And then they will pump more blood down there to keep it a more consistent temperature. It's
Wow.
pretty fascinating, actually.
That
Um,
is.
and so when they're setting down on the eggs, they heat them through touch. And then their skin, of course, is moist. There's your humidity. So like lately when the humidity's been really high, what they'll do is they'll kind of raise themselves up just a little bit to make sure they don't overheat the eggs. But they use their feathers to keep the draft off. And so they continuously readjust themselves to keep the most consistent temperature they can. And then they can use their beak to roll them, move them, adjust them, carry them. I've never actually seen a chicken move an egg, but I've seen evidence that the eggs were moved.
Yeah, I've never seen that either, but I have in one of my pens, I had some broodies that at one point was on the far back left-hand side, and then I went out there to feed, and all the eggs and the 2 chickens were on the right-hand side,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, "That's weird."
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, for us, we can it seems like halfway handle an egg wrong, and it'll crack, but you let a chicken, just scoop it with her beak or move it with her foot, sit on it, whatever. It's not cracking. Nothing's happening. It's good.
Yeah. Okay. Why is she so hot? She actually is the same temperature she always is. Her temperature does not go up while she's broody. So a chicken is 105 to 107 degrees.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. But they pluck their breast, they increase that vascular activity down low, and it just makes them feel like they're hotter. Maybe their temper makes them seem like they're hotter.
Now, guys, I'm going to say this. If you are listening to this podcast or watching this with your significant other, I highly encourage you not to have facial reactions when we talk about hormones and things like that. It might not be smart for you. But
You're funny.
look, this right here, I'm going to let you tell it, but this amazed me. I would not
Okay.
have thought they would get like that.
So this is in my main coop. There are 4 nest boxes. It was not possible for me to get a good picture of all 4. And but you can assume how it works. They're not overly big boxes. You would think they were just big enough for one of my extra sized chickens. But in reality, there are 11 birds, not counting the one in the ground in this picture. So you've got the 2 on the outside. Now that bottom one has her head and 1 foot in. The top right had 3. That top left has 2, bottom left has 2, and the bottom right had 2. And so they pile in there, and there was only eggs in the bottom, and I want to say 8 eggs. I clean them out every day, make them move. How you get them out, because they do, they are going to snap at you, so you just kind of have to go in. Now mine are used to me pulling them out at this point, so they don't really snap too much at me anymore. What they do though, the ones on the outside are the ones that are in head first. They'll actually take their claws and wrap them around the lip of the nest box. And so when you pull on them, you can't. They're remarkably strong.
Mhm.
And so I have to put my hands up underneath their feet. So they think my fingers are the edge of the nest box, and they'll curl their toes around my fingers, and then I can just pull them out. It is better to try to turn them around and bring them out head first, because they'll put their wings out and try to do everything they can to stay in there. Now, generally, I will just pick them up and toss them on the floor when I'm feeding, so I can encourage them to go eat. But if one is being a complete brat, we'll just scruff them like a cat. Just grab a whole handful of their back feathers and then just pull them out that way. Feathers don't come out. It just aggravates them, but then they go on and go eat and do their thing. They wait for me to leave, and then they all jump back up in there. The reason why I want them out is many reasons. First of all, when you have a broody breed like this, they will stay broody broody for months and months, and
Mhm.
they don't eat while they're broody. And I can tell just by picking them up every day that they're losing weight. I have already lost 2 hens. I have found 2 in the nest boxes dead, either by dehydration or by smother because they'll pile in there. The most I've ever seen in there was 4, and it really took me some finagling to get them out, and the bottom one was dead. So I have to pull them out every day. I have to make sure they get some food and try to get them out to get some water, because otherwise they'll just sit there. Their body kind of goes into what would be a good analogy, like almost like a coma, almost like
Hibernation.
yeah, like a hibernation. They don't eat, they don't drink, they use their stored fat, then they start using up their muscle mass, and then they don't have anything left, because all their energy is going into keeping those eggs warm. And I don't need them hatching. First of all, there's only 1 male in there, and there's like what, 50 girls out there. So
Now
I
he'd
don't,
had to be busy.
yeah, so I don't need him sitting on anything. And I don't want that many chicks actually this year. I did that last year and about lost my brains. So I'm not doing that again this year. So it's too many for me to try to break at this point, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So right now I'm just kind of winging it by throwing them out and making them eat and essentially hoping for the best at this point.
So what happens if you take that off the wall?
Well, what you can't see in this picture is just down to the left on the ground is one broody underneath the net, the roost.
So they'll do it right there.
Yeah, I mean they'll go anywhere. No matter where I move them, they go. So that's why they went out to the doghouse. I suspect just because I don't walk out there,
Them
and
managers.
they know I'll leave them alone. So
It didn't work out too good for a few of them.
So but these birds in the back are my air quote culls. These are the ones that didn't make the breeding groups, but we like them. We like to look at them. We like to watch them walk across the field. These are our layers basically. So it's not like I don't need them for a breeding pen basically. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a turkey. She's in the corner. What you can't see is there is 2 roosts above her head. So turkeys are quite nasty on the roost. And so to reach over or under, especially if there's one on the roost, you're taking matters in.
It's roosty.
Yeah. So my grandson goes in there to get eggs for me sometimes, and he just shakes his head and he's like, turkeys are so nasty, Grandma.
You're like, yep, that's why you're in there, buddy.
It's just because their poop is so big, you notice it more. So what do you do with the broody? Now, if you want her to set, like you're ready to leave her alone and encourage her to stay on the eggs because you want chicks, never ever leave a broody if you don't want chicks. You need to constantly move them out, do what you need to do to break them and stay hydrated and fed and active. But if you're ready for them to set, then the day you make that decision, you need to mark the eggs. So reach under them, use a Sharpie. There's a big discussion in our Incubation Masterclass Facebook group about what do you mark eggs with? And I was like, Sharpie?
Yeah. What the first thing I can find?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, the purple one doesn't work really well, so I use red or blue or black. I do write up on the air cell end. I don't. It's
Well,
just
yeah, that way you
right.
can see it when they're in the incubator.
Yeah, okay, that's why. Okay. I was like, why do I do that? But you need to mark them. The ones that you're gonna let her have. You can write the date on there. You can put a big old X on them. It doesn't matter really what you put on them, but you need to mark them because what's going to happen, especially if you go back to the Orpington picture, they literally will stand on top of each other and lay eggs. And then the broody hen will absorb the eggs into her nest. And if you don't mark them and then make a note in your calendar, what will happen is in 21 days, you're going to get those first chicks to hatch. But then you're going to have 12 more eggs of varying degrees of growth. And that is not what you want.
I got to tell you something that happened to me that was weird.
Okay, what?
All right. So take my eggs out of the hatcher and I get the chicks out of the basket. And, sometimes when you're in a hurry, you don't necessarily toss the eggshells. So I didn't do that one time the other day. And when I went back into my incubator room, there was 2 chicks in that basket. I haven't rolled the camera back to see just how long they were in there, but they were vibrant, chirping, moving around, fluffy, all that kind of stuff. I was like, I should probably put y'all in a brooder. So picked them up, held them in my hands, put some hot warm air on them pretty quick and stuck them in the brooder. Checked on them a couple hours later and they're good to go, but never had that happen. I normally don't like late bloomers. I like for everything to be when it's supposed to be, but I figured if those 2 late bloomers lasted long enough in that environment to be fluffy, they must be pretty vigorous.
Must be.
So we'll see.
All right.
I marked them.
If you don't mark them or you don't pull the new eggs every day, which you should pull the new eggs every day, but let's just say you don't, and no judgment there because we've all done it. What's going to happen, just to prepare you, is on day 21, her original eggs are going to hatch.
Mhm.
And then she is going to abandon her nest because her timer's off. Ding, ding, ding. She's done. Okay. And she needs to go get food and water for her chicks because
Mhm.
the prolactin is still active in her, but the shift is now I need to teach them to eat and drink. She is no longer broody. She is brooding.
Mhm.
Okay. So now you have to make a decision. Are you going to terminate the remaining eggs, or are you going to maybe put them under another broody and hope for the best, or are you going to put them in an incubator? If you choose to put them in your incubator, this is where I think the phenomenon of exploding eggs comes from because those things have been cooking in a nest box now with all kinds of chick fecal matter and dander and all kinds of different things going on in there and just bacteria everywhere.
Yummy.
So I'm not saying do or don't. I'm just telling you what could happen. Now, you candle them, obviously, before you put them in your incubator and pull out any duds that are obvious. And then you will have to just judge your days and go from there. I would not put them in a turner. I would lay them flat and I would put them in a incubator by themselves. So should you do get an exploder, it doesn't mess
It's
anything
everything
else.
else, yeah.
Now, always pay attention to your nose. Your nose will tell you if you have a problem, hopefully before it explodes.
Yeah.
So on an ideal side, you've marked the eggs, you collect everything that's not marked every day. When you don't, because we all have lives and stuff happens, that's how you handle the situation at the end. You also never move a broody hen. Chances are when you move her, you will break her. She will not want to be broody anymore in her new location because that's literally how you break them, is moving them. So if you have her setting, leave her alone. Nobody's going to bother her where she is unless if she's in a coop. Now, if she's out in a field or something somewhere, then you got to do what you got to do. But I'm talking about like in the safety of a coop or a run or something like that. Then just leave her. Okay. So now you're at day 21 and they hatch. And this is actually in that same nest box. This picture is from a few years ago. Same nest box, though, that all those Orpingtons were crowded into. And she hatched her chicks. Now, nest boxes generally have a front on them, and the chicks usually can't get over the top of them. I'm not going to say that they can't ever, but they shouldn't normally. And so once she's ready to go and be active and take the chicks out, that is when you move them. You take them, her and the chicks, and put them in a safe and secure location. If you have an extra small coop, that would be an ideal location. She will take care of bedding them down. You don't have to do anything there. I sometimes have taken them in the barn. I have pens on the other side of the barn I can use. I've left them in empty runs. I've turned them out outside of the barn in the main yard. And I've used big, huge dog crates. Just whatever you have handy will work. And the reason why you move them out of the main coop is not because 95% of the time the other big birds shouldn't bother the chicks. Of course, there's always going to be that one jerk, but 95% of the time that's fine. Mama will take care of them. But the reason being is the other big birds will drink all the water and eat all the feed.
And starter's expensive.
And chicks won't get it. So we're not moving them. We're moving them for their own safety, basically.
Right.
And I would keep them separated, maybe depending on your setup, 3-ish weeks, maybe a little longer, at least 3 weeks, I would say. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I usually like 3 weeks, but 3 to 4 weeks this time of year, especially in the South, you can just about put them outside.
Oh yeah, I've got some 4-week-olds running around up here.
You can put them all out in the grow out together.
Mhm.
I have some they've been outside since they were like 2.5, 3 weeks old. Like when they drop the dander and I can see actual feathers over most of their body, And, it's
Are you
on
talking
a
about with
cool
mama or
960
without?
without.
Oh, okay. So with mama, it doesn't matter. She's going to keep them warm.
Yeah, she'll keep them warm.
You don't need any heat plate. You don't need a heat lamp. You don't need none of the stuff that you have to do when you're doing it yourself. As long as she can get them on the ground, she will keep them warm. So you don't have to do anything with them.
Yep.
Now, I will say this, depending on your mama, how hard broody she is. And Orpingtons are notorious for this. They will brood them till they're bigger than she is. Yeah. So I had a group, I want to say 2 years ago, and the chicks, air quote, she was trying to roost. She was over being a mama. She was done. She was ready to kick them out of the house. And they were trying to get under her on the roost and kept knocking her off.
Daggone.
So I tried removing her. And then after like a week, I put her back. They went right back to doing it. There were 6 of them and 3 of them were boys. And so what I ended up doing was taking the 6 and putting them up in the breeder pens.
Wow.
And that's how I broke them. I mean, it was horrible. They would climb on her. You could just see it in her face. She's like,
And like, they don't even care.
I am so over it.
It's insane.
So the group that I have right now that's up there is an Orpington group. She hatched out 3 chicks, and they are 4-ish, 3.5, 4-ish weeks, I would say at this point. But she started laying eggs again. And after about a week of laying eggs, I went ahead and put her back in with the breeder group. Now the chicks I have Horsefire up there too before Horsefire, and they just run in and out of it. They don't care. So they could just go over where she is, but she's over it. She don't want to brood them anymore. I honestly don't know where they're sleeping because now they're just running 50 feet away from the pen. They're fine. I mean, nothing's bothering them. So they're doing their thing. Yeah, they're doing their thing. Okay, so breaking a broody. It's hard. It's not cake.
No, they're really stubborn.
Yeah. So depending on how hard and persistent they are, what we're trying to do by breaking them is to basically cool their belly a little bit, because what we want to do is shrink those fast veins and that blood flow back up and
slow down that prolactin.
Yes. And we don't want them to be able to nest down. No dirt, no nest boxes, no shavings, no anything. They have to be up on wire. They have to be airflow all the way around. So that's why we say put them in a dog kennel on wire. Okay. And then if they still are persistent and trying to even nest down on, the concrete floor or the dirt floor, wherever you have it, you got to put it up on blocks. You got to get that airflow underneath of them. And that is how you break them. Now, if you have one of these breeds that are prone to this kind of broodiness, it may only last a week and you're going to be right back to square one again. That's why I'm not really fighting with them too much, because
especially if you got plenty of eggs and you're done hatching for the year.
Yeah.
Like, don't fight it. It's a waste of time.
Just make sure they're getting, but do get them up, get them moving. You don't want them pooping in that nest box and sitting in it. You want them out eating and drinking. Throw them out. Don't be scared of them. Throw them out. If you have the kind of coop that you can lock them out of, that's even primo. I am not able to do that. And that bottom one, broody breeds will set themselves to death. So like I said, I've already got 2 that have died this year, either by dehydration or smothering. So keep that in mind if you have one of these hard broodies. And then they will stay continuously broody. And this is going to be more your cup of tea, really. But they're so dehydrated and malnourished from being, sitting there so long. And the molt is
they're on
coming.
strike.
Yeah, the molt's coming. And that's even harder on their body when they're already depleted.
Yeah. So during the molt, what I like to do is lower the protein level down to 12, 13 points, but increase the fiber to 8 or a little over 8, and make sure they're getting all the vitamins that their body needs, because the protein is just going to make them hotter. It's like carbohydrates, and their body doesn't need it. So you do that for a couple of weeks, and it really helps them get back down to that pullet or that cockerel weight. And the having all the vitamins and stuff that they need keeps them going, keeps them thriving. And then after 2 weeks, go back up to, like a 22% layer or a 20% layer, but make sure you've got a lot of amino acids, especially the methionine. When they're growing feathers like this, I really like it to be 0.5 plus. 0.6 is amazing. You don't normally find that, so you're going to have to use some kind of supplement to make it work. But that methionine is really what their body is spending a whole lot of while it's making those feathers. So it's very important, especially at this time, to feed them a quality feed. There's people out there that as soon as it starts getting hot, they cut the protein. Well, if you're on a store-bought feed and you go down to like a 16 or 15 maintenance type thing, the amino acids and stuff are typically down low with it, and that's not what you want to do. So
What if, like in my case, where they're already pretty depleted and it's obvious they're losing weight, do you still drop the protein going into the molt?
they're not going to need any help. When they're broody before they go in there, nah, I wouldn't drop anything. I would just keep trying to get them to eat really well. If anything, since they're not eating a whole lot, I have actually given some of mine starter before because I was that worried that they weren't getting everything that they needed because of how little they were eating.
So after hatch, when they have the chicks, I feed mine starter.
Yeah, if you got a broody in with some chicks, you should feed all of them starter because she needs to replace everything that she's lost while she's been sitting on those eggs. And it's usually a good bit of nutrition. So for the first few weeks, it's perfectly fine while she's brooding to give them both the starter.
Yep.
The chicks and the hen.
Okay, so it got me thinking because we talked about the broody breeds or the silkies, the Orpingtons, and the Cochins. And when I had the Cochins, I used to joke that it was like carpet in their pen. That was just black carpet. But the non-broody breeds, so we hear people on social media talk about, yeah, mine's broody, but she leaves the nest for a couple hours a day. That's not broody. So
That's lazy.
So she might have elevated prolactin, but she is not broody enough to set eggs. So don't try to expect
Don't
that
count
of
on
her.
those.
So broodiness is an inheritable trait and you can breed it out. So like in my Orpingtons, I mean, it would take me a lifetime to breed it out as broody as they are. But in the breasts, I'm on the fence.
You ain't really got to try to breed it out of them.
Well, I've got 3 that are broody right now.
Out of how many?
15 or so.
Yeah, see?
It's not terrible, but I'm thinking that I'm going to band them and maybe not keep them once I have something to replace them with. So I may try to breed it. I want to keep it under control, basically.
Well, so if they have a lot of really good traits, except for that, then yeah, I would band them while they're being so broody now and, put a pink or orange zip tie around their leg or something. And then as soon as you find their replacement in the old hen grow out pen.
Yeah. So the reason why we wouldn't want it is because we need production. They're meant for eggs and meat, and if they're broody, they're not laying. And then broody seems to be, it's contagious. And we say that it's contagious, but that's because there's eggs there, there's a nest there. And then remember that tornado, that circular motion of, I need to sit on these eggs and more prolactin. And then it's just a whole thing.
I've never really thought about it that way. But yeah, it's contagious, like the flu or something.
It is. And so production breeds like Leghorns or Isobrowns, like in the laying houses, and the hybrids that people get. So when you're shopping, let's say like at McMurray or something, or Valley Hatchery, our sponsor, right? Then if you're looking at the breeds and you're picking something and it says they lay, I mean, I haven't shopped on there for production breeds, but let's just say 260 eggs a year. Well, that's going to be a non-broody chicken because if she had gone broody, then she wouldn't be laying most of the year.
Yeah, they're pumping the brakes on that.
So if you were to see a picture of my Orpingtons in a catalog, it might say 75 eggs next to their mate because they're broody all the time. So that is why those egg counts are on there. That's what it's telling you. And so the broodiness has been bred out of them, and you need to pay attention to that. So you can decide if that's going to work for your purposes. Do you want what I've got out here, or do you want like the breasts who are just big machines and I can count on them every morning for breakfast? I mean, that's just a preference.
People ask me all the time, hey, can I get some of your reds? I'm like, why do you want my reds? They lay such pretty brown eggs. Okay, but why do you want my reds? Well, because they're known for laying a lot of eggs, not my reds. Mine are standard bred, and yeah, the 80 on a good year. That's about it.
So when I post pictures of all these eggs that I'm getting, yes, I do get a lot of eggs, but I have a lot of birds. But my egg
Yeah.
season for the Orpingtons is almost over. I think I got 9 eggs today, and I have like the Orpington.
You had to fire them heifers.
Yeah, well, again,
Some
they're
of
here
them.
for our enjoyment, right? But now the breasts, I got 15-ish and 3 are broody, so I got 12 eggs. They're laying machines up there.
Yep. If you can keep
So-
them out of a nest box, keep them in 14, 15, 16 hours of light every day, they're going to pop it. They're going to be religious about it.
So just when you're shopping, you need to make a mental note of, oh, I'm getting them for eggs. Plus, I really like looking at them. Well, people want cochins, but cochins go broody, so you're not going to be getting eggs, right? And they eat like pigs too. And so you just shop for your needs, because everybody's needs are different and their purposes are different.
And that's one of the reasons why we always tell you to, before you start a flock, figure out what your goals are. You need to know what your goals are going to be before, so you know what to select.
Okay, you ready? You ready for the duck picture? Oh, wait, I didn't put it. I took it and I didn't put it in here. Okay,
Hilarious.
so I have to tell you, I'll just describe it to you. Maybe that's even better. So Mount Poopmore, y'all know my quail poop, right? I pile it up for compost for the garden. Well, the old pile, I needed to stop adding to it, so we created a new pile. The new pile is just right over here by the driveway, and it's between the driveway and the breeder pen over here. So you drive right by it. Yeah, it's as tall as I am. I'm gonna say, let's just say it's 5 feet. Yeah. And it's probably like 10 or 12 feet at the base, and it's wet and it stinks. And these ducks flattened out the top of it and laid their eggs in the top of it. Can't get to them, can't do anything to her. She just stands, she's up there on top of Mount Poopmore like she is just queen of the hill. And you drive by on the gator and you just look at her and she just opens her mouth and like
Queen
I'm
of the
gonna
poop.
go over there and do.
Yeah, she's like, ha ha.
So
You're like,
there's no
"That's
way
on you,
these
heifer."
eggs are gonna hatch because they've got to be getting cooked from the end.
I was gonna say, even if she gets off of them half the time, there's still some underlying heat there that's gonna keep 'em plenty of warm.
So like 2
Wind
days
up
ago,
pooped.
a second duck showed up over there, sitting up there with her.
That's insane.
So yeah. Yeah, I took a picture of her. I can't believe I forgot to put it in the slideshow. But
Maybe you can stick it in the blog post or make it the thumbnail.
there you go. Pile of poop with a duck on top.
Right. Mount Poopmore.
Oh my word. All right. Talk to
Be
you
sure to
soon.
like, share, and subscribe. See y'all.
Thank you for tuning in, and please visit poultrynerdspodcast.com for more info and this week's guide to broody hens.